Today, everyone, I have an exciting challenge for the writing lesson. You're going to get the chance to come up with your own funny scene, write it down, and then get my brother, maybe, to act it out. Yes, that means I've got a challenge to see who can write the best and most funny scene, and the winner of this week's challenge will get to see their scene acted out by my brother in a video next week. So it's quite a precious prize today. Make sure you're concentrating and make sure you try your hardest to make your writing as interesting and as funny as possible. Before I explain in more detail what the challenge is, I am going to go through the lesson checklist very quickly. As usual, pencil and paper ready. And for today's video, if you're in Jade group, you don't need to do this exercise. That is because you already did some writing exercises in your video with Miss Fernandez for reading and grammar this morning. If you haven't yet done that video, then go and do that. And the same for everybody else. If you've not yet done your reading or grammar lesson, you need to have done that first before you do your writing lesson, because it kind of follows on. So make sure you've seen the grammar video from today, the 4th of May, and make sure you've completed your dictation task before you carry on with this video. If you've done numbers 1 and 2, you can move on to number 3, which is write down the date and LI. So that should be everyone who is in the Indigo group and everybody else as well. Pause the video and write down the 4th of May 2020, the short date, year 3 writing, and the LI, which is to use powerful verbs. So as I said, your task today is to write a funny scene for my brother to act out at home. So your scene needs to be something that can be filmed at home, so it needs to take place in one of the rooms of a house. So the scene could happen in a kitchen, in a bathroom, in a bedroom, at the front door, and it just needs to involve one person, and that person is my brother, Rishav. In order to make the scene really fun for him to act out and really funny to watch, you need to include as much detail as possible about how the scene should be acted. The best way to do that while you're writing your scene is to use powerful verbs. Now, what should we consider a powerful verb? Well, I would consider a powerful verb to be any verb that really has a lot of character. So it tells you or gives an indication of the specific way in which something should be done. And in order to make the scene powerful overall, we want to have lots of verbs, lots of actions, lots of stuff happening. So I'm going to give you an example of the scene that I wrote for my brother for today's dictation video. So I gave him this scene, which explained to him how he should act it out, and then I used that scene for the video. Even though I used a slightly different sentence in the voiceover, the actual scene that he had to read had a lot more detail of how he was supposed to act and what he was supposed to do. So let's have a look at my example now, and hopefully you'll get to see some examples of powerful verbs and good writing to make it really extra funny. So, above me you can see the task, and below me you can see my example. So I'm going to read it out loud, and afterwards I'll go through and explain why I chose to write it in this way. It says, Rishiv is at the dinner table, munching on some delicious chocolate chip cookies. He has already nearly finished the packet. There are just 2 biscuits left, and the shiny red wrapper is sitting on the table, half open. As he polishes off the final treats, he starts to get a funny feeling in his stomach. His belly gurgles. His lips tremble. Suddenly, he tumbles from his chair and collapses onto the floor. He hunches over in pain, thinking that he will never eat another biscuit again. So this is what he read, and then he acted it out, reading these words and trying to portray it when he was doing his acting. I'm going to explain some of the word choices that I made, and hopefully that will help you to also make some good word choices. So Rishav is at the dinner table. The first thing I've done is set the scene. I've explained where is it happening, who is there. Rishav is at the dinner table, munching on some delicious chocolate chip cookies. So I've said munching because I wanted to show how he was eating. If I just wrote eating, I wouldn't really know how he was eating, but I said munching because I wanted him to do the action like this. Not just like eating calmly. I wanted it to be a more exciting verb. And I've said that the chocolate chip cookies are delicious because I want him to show that he's enjoying it while he's acting. He has already nearly finished the packet. So that just explains what's happening in the story. There are just 2 biscuits left, and the shiny red wrapper is sitting on the table, half open. So this gives an indication of what you should be able to see in the scene. You should see this shiny red wrapper, half open, sitting on the table. When we watch the video in a second, you'll see that you can actually see that in the video. As he polishes off the final treats. So polishes off, again, is another verb for finishes, but I'm trying to make it more interesting. Polishes off is like just the very, very, very last bit. He starts to get a funny feeling in his stomach. His belly gurgles. I've used the word gurgle because it really gives an indication of what kind of feeling is in his stomach. Gurgle isn't really a nice sound, so I wanted to use a verb that gave the impression of that nasty sound in the stomach. His lips tremble. So this is a detail of exactly not just what Rishabh's doing, but also what's his face doing. His lips are trembling. Suddenly, and I've added this adverb here at the beginning of the sentence, so it's like a shock, and that's what happens in the video. It's quite sudden. Suddenly, he tumbles from his chair. So tumbles is like not falling gracefully. Tumbles like a very ungraceful fall, and collapses onto the floor. That's another powerful verb, collapses. I didn't just say fell, I said collapses, so it made it more dramatic. He hunches over in pain, thinking that he will never eat another biscuit again. So this is quite a short scene. It's only about 10 seconds long, but it's got a lot of detail, and that's what I want to see from your writing. Try to think what would be funny to watch. I thought it would be quite funny to see my brother fall off the table or fall off his chair onto the floor, so that's why I included it in my scene. So what can you do in your scene that will make someone laugh? And then what words can you use to really make the acting come to life? So here's one example. You might think of other things to make your scene more interesting. So as well as using powerful verbs, a challenge could be to also add some adverbs into there. You could even add some speech into there. But I'm really just looking for some good writing, and I really want it to make me laugh. So be as funny as you can be. If you can't think of something funny that's completely original, maybe think of something funny that's happened and write that story about my brother. One more thing I want you to note is I've used the present tense throughout this scene. That's because when we're watching the scene, it's as if we're watching it happening in real life at the same time. So Rishabh is at the dinner table in the scene, rather than saying Rishabh was, yeah? So I want you to practice writing in the present tense if you can. Right, before I let you go on and do the task, let's just watch how this scene looks when someone actually acts it out. Now have a go at writing the scene yourself. Spend about 20 to 30 minutes on it, and then make sure you take a photo to send in to the Year 3 email address.